Hello everybody, and today we're doing a 2024 Democrat primary tier list. The original plan was to always do this video sometime after the Republican 2024 primary tier list. And I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked me to do it, and I said yeah, or I hearted their comment. It was one of the two. But it was always the plan to do this. Same tiers as the Republican, 100% support, phenomenal choice, pretty good, I could stomach, depends on the running mate, and don't even fucking run. 25 candidates, though it's pretty funny. In the Republican tier list, somebody commented, half of these guys won't even run because they're scared to lose, and I was like, yeah! So, there you go. So, it's probably going to be the same with these 25 here. So, first off, let's start off with Stacey Abrams. By 2024, I think she'll most likely end up being the governor of Georgia. I think Georgia will flip blue as of right now on the governor level. I think it's a bit more competitive on the Senate level just because both Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock are just awful candidates. But I have a newfound respect for Stacey Abrams past the 2020 election. Kind of like, I don't like it when politicians just complain. I always say, prove it. Prove me wrong. Give me results. And that's exactly what she did. She helped Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win the state of Georgia. I think we can all agree on that. And, I think I just respect her a bit more. As a presidential candidate, I don't know. I'm gonna say I could stomach. I wouldn't mind it too much. Tammy Baldwin, I think she's a phenomenal choice for the Democrat nominee. Since I'm a Republican, this is more or less saying, hey, how do they rank as the nominee for Democrats? So there you go. And so 100% support, that would just mean I think they're the best choice, and then we just go down. So, Tammy Baldwin, I think she could probably do well. She could probably bring back the Obama 08-12 voters that went to Donald Trump. She'll definitely bring it back. She outperformed freaking Tony Evers by 11 points in 2018. She's very popular in the state of Wisconsin. I think she would do very well. Next up, Andy Beshear. Used to think this guy was a pretty conservative Democrat. Then I started looking more and more into what he's been doing as governor of Kentucky. He's pretty much on the same level as Joe Biden. I think he's a pretty good choice, though. He would probably do well in Georgia and North Carolina. Probably would make Kentucky a bit closer, probably within 15, but probably nothing more, nothing less. Joe Biden, probably, let's be honest, oh god, this is... Electability, Joe Biden's probably one of the best candidates, but the guy has cognitive issues, okay? I know the whole, do Republicans think Democrats suck the blood out? I'm hoping he was just making a joke, but still, you don't say that as president. Oh my lord. I'm gonna say, oh god, I'm gonna put 100% support just because he's the current president, but there are definitely better candidates than Joe Biden. Next up, Cory Booker. I like Cory Booker. Don't have much bad things to say about him, except the fact that he used to support Big Pharma. Used to be a big, pretty much used to be Big Pharma's bitch, is what I'm trying to say. And that's the only bad thing I gotta say about him. This guy is I feel, when I hear him talk about stuff, to me, he's being pretty genuine. Now, there are times where, I don't remember, I think it was Amy Coney Barrett's hearing, he said something I can't remember that I didn't like. But besides that, I don't have anything bad to say about Cory Booker. I'm gonna say pretty good. Wish he was a major name in the Democrat Party, but he's not. I think he's really good policy-wise, though. Sherrod Brown, gonna say he's probably 100% support for me. I think he's a good guy. I don't know if he's a centrist populist or a progressive populist. I don't know, pretty much saying I don't know if he's far left. Jesus Christ, Pat. Cat just knocked over a freaking notepad off the freaking kitchen table, and that's where I'm recording, is my kitchen, by the way. And back to what I was saying. I think Sherrod Brown definitely does good with the Rust Belt voters. Probably, depending on who he's against, if he's facing off against Donald Trump, he probably loses Ohio. If he's facing off against DeSantis, Jim Justice, Tucker Carlson, he probably narrowly wins Ohio. I think Donald Trump's the only one he wouldn't be able to win it against. On a presidential level. Senate level, much different story. Probably wouldn't be able to win Michigan and Pennsylvania. Probably will do well in Iowa. Probably get under 5%. He probably wouldn't win it, though. Depending on his running mate, he could probably do really good in Georgia. I don't know how he does with minority voters, though. So that's one thing that kind of may just... If he's bad with minority voters, that would drop him down to a phenomenal choice. But if he's really good with minority voters, 100% support for the nomination. Next up is the gay man Pete Buttigieg. Not hating on him because he's gay. I mean, I'm asexual, so I guess I'm also quote-unquote gay, but anyway. Was mayor of South Bend, which is a moderate-sized city compared to the other three mayors that ran from the two different cities, New York City and Miramar, is both cities are larger than South Bend. He's awful with black and Hispanic voters, though I think the older, more experienced he'll get, he'll do better with those two voting groups, absolutely. And if I had to guess, he'll probably choose a black person as his running mate. Probably Karen Bass, if I had to guess. I'll put him in pretty good. I think he'll definitely do better with... he'll probably do terrible in the South, just because of the whole religion thing. But he'll probably do good in the Rust Belt. Just my honest opinion. Because he won the Iowa primary. Sorry, progressives. He won the Iowa primary. He won the most delegates. So, sorry. Next up, John Kerry. Definitely see him as a mid-tier presidential candidate, but like, there's nothing really that great about him. I don't know much about John Carney. I think I'm gonna put him in pretty good. I think he'd be able to appeal to the same amount of people as Joe Biden did. Maybe probably do a little worse with black voters, but that's about it. Next up is the governor of my state, Roy Cooper. Hella underrated. Like, this guy, I don't think this guy is as bad as many people say. I think he wants to keep the state open, but out of fear that he'll lose support in his party, he can't do that. So I'm going to say he's a phenomenal choice. Def will win North Carolina. Will absolutely win North Carolina. Got more votes than Donald Trump on the ballot. He literally got like 500,000 more votes than Trump in a state that Joe Biden lost. So I think if I had to guess, he'd probably pick a token minority as his running mate. Don't have any clue as to who that would be, but Cooper probably a phenomenal choice for the nomination, in my opinion. Will he do good in the Rust Belt? Depends on who he's running against. If it's Donald Trump, he might be in the fight for his life. He'll definitely win the state of Michigan. Probably do really well in Pennsylvania, but I don't know about the state of Wisconsin, though. Next up, Catherine Cortez Masto, the senator of Nevada. Definitely would do good with white suburban women. What do we call those? A geographical group, I guess, is what it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to call these groups of people places or anything. She definitely do good with Hispanics, as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did terrible with, so she would be really good with Hispanics, which has been trending to the right past few election cycles. I'm gonna put her 100% support, just because I think she's a lot better than what the America First movement and some Republicans are saying about her. I don't think she's a progressive by any means. I think she's just kind of like what Kamala is. She'll vote where she thinks she should vote. Not to keep her power, just what, is right in her eyes, I guess. Next up, Senator Tammy Duckworth of the state of Illinois. Definitely think she is a great top-tier candidate. Will do great with the military vote. Fun fact, Joe Biden actually won the military vote against Donald Trump. I don't know if that's anything related to the suckers comment that Donald Trump made, which I personally don't believe he said it, but that's just me, and I've heard lots of veterans say they don't believe it either. But Joe Biden won, I think, 57% of the military vote. And I think Tammy Duckworth probably wins if she were to do better than Joe Biden in the military vote, she probably wins about 60 to 62% of the military vote, which guarantees her the election. She probably does better. She probably wins back some of the Clinton-Trump LGBT voters that Trump had won in 2020. Definitely wins every single Rust Belt state with the exception of Indiana, Iowa, and Ohio. Probably by over 1%, so Wisconsin wouldn't be tilt. I don't know who she'd pick as a running mate. I doubt she would go... I think she would be smart with her running mate. I don't think she would pick a progressive. I do think she'd alienate progressives, absolutely. which could tank her campaign. Next up, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who I think is going to be running for governor of Hawaii. I hope so. People say she's super unpopular, but I think she's really popular in her home state. There's no denying that. If she were to stay in the race long enough for Hawaii, she probably would have won. Actually, I don't think she would have won Hawaii. I think her and Bernie would have split the vote enough to where Joe Biden would have won it. Though I think Tulsi would have came in second, absolutely. She will definitely appeal to both progressives and the moderate wing of the Democrat Party. I think people just underestimate her. I was Red Line Politics and Purple Political Talk, were going back and forth, and I think, and they were going off on his video of Tulsi Gabbard versus Donald Trump, and I think that Purple Political Talk was overestimating Tulsi while Red Line was underestimating Tulsi. I think it's a close middle. I think Tulsi would have been one of the few people who would have beaten Donald Trump pre-COVID. Post-COVID, I think every single Democrat would have been able to beat Trump with maybe a handful of exceptions. But before COVID happened, I think Yang, Castro, and Gabbard were the only three that could have beaten Trump. So 100% support for the nomination for Tulsi. Next up, Kamala. Do I have to explain this? She is more unpopular than Hillary Clinton. I'd rather have Hillary Clinton than her as president. Her own staff doesn't even like her. They are hating their lives right now, it sounds like. And I think she's probably going to 25th Joe, which will not, which if I was a Democrat, if I were the Democrats, if I was a top tier Democrat knowing that there was this plan happening, if there is a plan, I could absolutely be wrong, and I would wait till after the midterms, because if Kamala becomes, Vice President Harris becomes the president before the midterms, 2010 will look like a Democrat favorable year, in my opinion. That's just me. Next up, Colorado Senator John Hickenlooper, another candidate who I think will alienate progressives, but is a strong, moderate candidate who, in my opinion, I like to consider him a moderate populist. Definitely will appeal to the suburban voters that Joe Biden worked with. Probably does better in the suburbs than Joe Biden, absolutely. I think he'd choose someone like Jay Inslee as his running mate. I think he'll pick a progressive as his running mate just to not alienate them too much, because the difference between Duckworth and Hickenlooper, Duckworth will still win these voters no matter what because of her national name recognition, and I'm pretty sure progressives actually like her despite what she has said. Hickenlooper, not so much. I'm going to put him in the pretty good category. Just because of the electabilities thing. I just don't know how well he would do. I think he'd do well with Hispanics, absolutely. Next up, Governor Jay Inslee of Washington. I don't think he'll ever be president. I think he'll make a couple more presidential runs in his life. Maybe not 2024. Maybe he'll run again in 2028. Who knows? And he'll probably end up being the next senator from Washington when Mariah Cantwell or Patty Murray retires. Great on environmental issues, but that's pretty much it. Just a one-track candidate. Or one-issue candidate, my mistake. Now, I'm going to put it on depends on the running mate, because if Jay Inslee was the nominee, this is going by just him being a one-issue candidate environment. Who is his running mate, and what are they bringing to the ticket? That's what I'm worried about, because, assuming Jay Inslee is the nominee, he's probably discussing more than one topic, obviously. More than one issue. Next up is Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, the former running mate of Hillary Clinton. Nothing bad about this guy, but don't run. I don't hate Tim Kaine. It's just that he brings nothing to the Democrat ticket. Absolutely nothing. I think he'll turn off progressives. He'll even turn off some blue dog Democrats, surprising or not. He'll do very well in Virginia, but probably nowhere else. He'll always be that guy who lost to Donald Trump and Mike Pence in 2016 with Hillary Clinton on the same ticket as him. So I wouldn't even bother with Tim Kaine. Next up, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, a phenomenal choice. The only thing holding her back is the Black Lives Matter terrorists. Yes, I'm calling them terrorists. If you riot, you are a terrorist. That goes with Antifa as well as the far-right conspiracy theorists that broke into the Capitol building on January 6th. You are terrorists. She'll definitely win Minnesota by over 10 points. That's how popular she is. She'll definitely win the Rust Belt by at least a lean margin. She'll probably won't do as well in the South, if I had to guess. And plus, she does have that scandal where she was abusive towards her staffers. So, that's the only reason why I'm not keep putting her in the 100% support column. Next up is California Governor Gavin Newsom. I don't think he's losing the recall. I think he'll probably survive the recall by double digits. I don't see it. Absolutely not. I live in the real world, not Twitter. But I think if he does run for president, he'll be like, I'm the only Democrat to survive a recall election, which is true, but at the same time, he's also ignoring the fact that Scott Walker, a Republican, also survived a recall. So he's being truthful, just, tweaking it a little bit, I guess you can say. Definitely does good with progressives, does great with Hispanics. Probably good with blacks too, if I had to guess. I'm gonna put good stomach. I don't know. I think Gavin Newsom would be a better president than Joe Biden because, let's be honest, the progressives in America First movement are very, very, how do I say this, effective. Though I don't like the fact that he broke his own rules during the pandemic. That pisses me off. Next up, Georgia Senator John Ossoff. I think he'll be like 37 or 38 by the time the 2024 election runs around. So he'll be very young. Does good with black voters. Very good at black voters, especially for a white man, I guess you could say. I think he's a pretty good choice. I think his age is the only thing that holds him down. He'll probably have to choose somebody like around that's in their late 50s, early 60s to balance out the whole age thing. That's just me, though. Next up, former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick. Was expecting him to get a position in Joe Biden's cabinet. Not gonna lie, I thought he was gonna end up being the, not his cabinet, but his administration. I thought he was gonna be there in some form or another, somewhere in the Department of Justice. Not the Attorney General. I thought Biden was going to choose Doug Jones as his Attorney General, but all in all, that didn't happen. I don't know. I don't see him doing too well. I think he'd be a pretty good vice presidential candidate, but not a good presidential candidate. I'll put in good stomach. Just if as a Democrat, I could stomach him being the nominee, just for the fact that what does he bring, honestly? Next up, Colorado Governor Jared Polis definitely will win back the LGBT vote from Donald Trump. He won 30%. Donald Trump did in 2020. Though besides that, doesn't bring much to the table. I'm gonna put good stomach. Not because he's gay, just because he doesn't bring much to it. Next up, Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema. Sorry to tell you this, I highly doubt Ruben Gallego or Greg Stanton will primary her in 2024, and she's pretty much the only person besides Greg Stanton who could keep that seat blue. 100% support for the nomination. Definitely one of my favorite senators currently, out of both parties. Next up, California Congressman Eric Swalwell. I do think he's going to end up running for Senate in 2024 if Dianne Feinstein decides to retire. And he'll probably win it just because of his national name recognition compared to other California congressmen and women. I definitely think he's the Joe Biden of this time, where I think he'll run for president twice. Second time around, he'll be chosen as someone's VP, and then he'll just, some years later, he'll be president. I just have a feeling about that. I'm gonna put him in don't even run, just because he did so poorly in 2020. And there's not much about him besides, hey, at least I'm not Donald Trump, yada yada. Next up, Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack. Fun fact, out of every single one of Biden's cabinet picks, Tom Vilsack was the only person I got right. I said that Tom Vilsack would be his Agriculture Secretary, and I was correct. So, Tom Vilsack's pretty bad with black voters, so he'd probably pick a black person as his running mate. Will probably do well in the state of Iowa. He probably wouldn't win it, which is his downfall. I guess it depends on his running mate. If he was a nominee, I'd like to see who he would pick. He'd probably pick somebody who is kind of a compromise between progressives and the moderate wing of the party. Probably someone like Cory Booker. But it really just depends on their running mate. And this one's more like, okay, you're not in the don't even fucking run category, but Depending on who these two choose, they could go all the way up to 100% support, or they could just go up to stomach. Next up, Elizabeth Warren. Definitely a very controversial take. Controversial pick for Democrats. I'm going to put her in good stomach. She has alienated a lot of progressives. As soon as she left the Democrat primary field, she stopped supporting progressive ideals such as universal health care, and then she still didn't endorse Bernie, which many progressives, are not thrilled with her. So I doubt she would turn out as many progressives as many would think she would. I even think she would lose if she was the Democrat nominee in 2024. Just because of what happened with her and Bernie in 2020. So this is my 2024 Democrat primary tier list. I'm not 100% sure on a couple of these guys, like Joe Biden. I think he could go down to either a phenomenal choice or pretty good. Mostly I have him 100% support just because he's the incumbent. That's the only reason. And definitely a better candidate than these three when it comes to turning out voters. Even with the cognitive issue. Anyway, guys, the dogs are barking. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the Cat saying, peace.